Hello again, everyone. I am Chris Scherer, and this is the Citizen Sports Weekly for Wednesday, December 22nd, 2021. Robert Harding and Justin Ritzel are with me. We're all together in spirit, at least. And we're going to do basically NFL discussion because it's that time of the year. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. We're coming up on week 16. Hard to believe. But before we do our picks, we're going to look back at week 15, our takeaways from week 15. And for me, COVID. The NFL has been very fortunate. Very few COVID cases because 96% of the league is vaccinated. And this is the first week that we've had issues with COVID, with games having to be moved. There was talk that some of these games were going to be canceled, but they were not. They were moved, and we had Tuesday night football, a Tuesday night doubleheader. First time, I think, since 1934, the NFL has played two games on a Tuesday. Kind of curious what the reasons were back in 34 for why that happened. But regardless, it seems like every day we hear about positives. Today, the Jets coach tested positive. The Eagles coach tested positive. More players are testing positive. Obviously, Robert's Buffalo Bills, his favorite player, tested positive or is on the COVID list. He's not playing. And, the NFL has done a great job of getting its players and staff vaccinated. But with this new variant of COVID, things are different. It's easier to catch it. And as a result, we're getting more, it's playing more of a factor. So, the NFL, I think, needs to be applauded in some ways. It has stress vaccination for its players. It does have a 96% rate, which is excellent. But as we all know, all it takes is one person getting COVID. It can affect an entire team. There's breakthrough cases that we're very familiar with that you can be completely vaccinated and still get COVID, even if you're asymptomatic, and you can spread it. So a lot of different things going on here. It's going to be interesting to see how the NFL navigates through this. And also teams that are on the playoff bubble, basically, except for Justin, whose Packers have clinched. All of our teams, the Bills, the Dolphins, and basically half of the NFL is on the playoff bubble. So it's going to be interesting to see how COVID affects this. It's really created a soap opera type atmosphere, a drama. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the next 3 weeks. We have 3 weeks worth of games left. And with so many playoff spots open and so all these teams bunched up together within a game or two of each other, it's going to be interesting to see if it's a war of attrition where teams that navigate COVID the best are the ones that can win and get to the playoffs. We'll see what happens. So, Robert, your takeaways from week 15.
Well, my takeaway, because I won't beat the COVID drum, so to speak. Man, the Cardinals stink. Okay, this is a team again that they started off hot last year. We had to see that damn Hail Mary, every time, and then they didn't do anything after that. And this year started off hot, and I think the pundits were reluctant to give them any love because we've seen this play out before, and now we're seeing their second half slump take effect. And boy, what a low, losing to the lowly Lions, and not just losing, getting blown out by the Lions.
Yeah.
The Cardinals look like a team that, I think they'll get into the playoffs. I don't think there's any question about that. But, they do not look like a contender in the NFC. They've already lost to the Packers, and the Packers seem to be getting better since that game, and as the Cardinals decline. The Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. The Saints have had their number. I'm not too worried about them. I don't think the Saints will be there in the playoffs at the end of the day. But boy, this is quite a fall for the Cardinals, and losing to the Lions is a massive blow. I mean, that game was not close. Lions jumped all over them, and so I think this shows that in the NFC. We're starting to see who the contenders are and who the pretenders are. And certainly the Packers are at the top of the list in terms of the contenders, I would say. I'm not going for the Harding Hex here, Ritz. I'm just speaking the truth that the Packers do look good. But in terms of the pretenders, I mean, the Cardinals are at the top of that list, I think. That team has not played as well as they did early on in the season. I think opposing defenses are figuring them out a little bit. They've also had to deal with the injury bug too. So we'll see if they can turn things around, but it's going to be tough for them in that NFC.
Justin, your takeaways from last weekend.
So I do want to talk about the Sunday night game, specifically how it affected the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and really just a specific play in that game, which was the play that cost Chris Godwin his season. We spend a lot of time on here complaining about things the NFL does and rules and all that, officials, blah, blah, blah. But I look at that play, which is, Godwin is a receiver who plays mostly on the inside, plays a lot of slot, catches a lot of balls over the middle. He's kind of like a souped up version of like what Wes Welker was for Tom Brady, like just does all the dirty work. Not necessarily a big play threat, but just trusty, reliable. He catches a pass over the middle, and I don't remember which Saints defender it was, but he basically undercutted him, and Godwin somersaulted over him. And I saw a video of like the replay in slow motion, and just the way his knee bent was terrible. The defender went low on him because the NFL rules don't allow you to hit guys up high because they're concerned about head injuries and concussions, which I understand for sure. But now Chris Godwin is out for the rest of the year. And here's a player who was playing on the franchise tag. He was set to be a free agent this year, assuming he didn't get tagged again. He's undoubtedly going to get paid a lot of money being in his mid-20s and still in the prime of his career. And now his futures, at least immediate future, is completely in doubt. So I remember back, it was 2013, and Randall Cobb broke his leg on the exact same kind of play where he kind of caught a ball. A defender was right in his face, couldn't tackle him up high, couldn't deliver a shoulder hit up high. So he went low on him, and it cost Randall Cobb half the season. I think, Chris Collinsworth kind of made this point on the broadcast, which he's the one who's the ex-professional receiver, not me, but I do agree with him, which is that I think if you ask a lot of receivers where they would rather be targeted on those open field hits, they would say, hit me up high, because I need my legs, yes, a concussion is not what you want. Obviously, head injuries are very serious, and I'm glad the NFL in recent years has made some adjustments to the rules to try and prevent those. But you get a concussion, as long as it's not a recurring injury, you're back on the field in a week or two in most cases. You tear your ACL and you're out for a year, at least, 10 months, and you're really not the same player for a year and a half. So it's kind of tough. I don't want to criticize the NFL because I don't have an answer to this problem, but I wish there was something we can do to, not force defenders to go low every time, because that's kind of the situation that tackling is in, is you can't hit a guy up high. So I'm going to go down low and take their legs out. And that leads to serious injuries. So it's just kind of tough for the Buccaneers losing a player like that when they're pushing for a second Super Bowl. Same week that Mike Evans gets hurt, Leonard Fournette gets hurt. We might look back and say, if Tampa gets that number 3 or 4 seed instead of the top seed and they have to go on the road, we might look back to the Saints game as being the moment when, that's why Tampa couldn't repeat. But just, like I've said, I wish there was a better way for these guys to have a higher, target zone for where they're tackling, because I hate seeing these guys get cut from down low and suffering these season-ending injuries. It's terrible for them.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something it is noticeable this year is that it seems like defensive backs are tackling now more and below the waist than trying for that big hit to knock the ball carrier down and everything. And to be honest with you, I like that because to me, it's a better way to make sure you actually get the tackle. That, we've seen players try to hit a guy as hard as they can. And what happens? Either they miss or they bounce off, or guess what? The running back can withstand the hit, doesn't go down, regains their balance and gets a big gain. I'm not saying go for the knees and try to cripple somebody, anything like that. Absolutely not. But I like the fact that defensive backs and linebackers now are going more for below the waist to wrap up a ball carrier, because that's the surest way to tackle someone is get them at the legs. They can't run. They can't escape it. So I agree with you saying, Justin, but like I said, I kind of like seeing a more sure-handed tackle than trying to, do this hit them as hard as they can and knock them out type thing.
I mean, it's definitely the bet. I mean, because these plays are so bang bang, like the game is so fast. You can't always expect a defensive player to be able to get his hands around a guy's waist and wrap up. Like that's, sometimes you have to do that. And yeah, it is, unfortunately, in a way, it's the more efficient way to take down a guy. But it does lead to injury, and that's, football is a brutal sport, and that kind of comes with it. But it's just so tough to play defense when the target zone for tackling is just so small. I don't know what they're expected to do. And, Tom Brady came out and said, hey, and he's biased. Obviously he lost his teammate because of this, but he came out and said, I wish we could ban tackling down low, just like they did with quarterbacks. You can't tackle a quarterback or sack a quarterback at their knees. Brady says the same should be the same for receivers. So I don't know. It's probably something that should be talked about.
Yeah. All right. Our next part of our discussion is about analytics, and Ravens coach John Harbaugh going for the win a couple times here. And he tried doing it against the Packers. He could have kicked the extra point, went to overtime. But analytics says go for two. Now, another situation, this was Thursday night, which feels like 100 years ago, but the Chargers against the Chiefs, the Chargers could have kicked some field goals, instead went for it on 4th and goal, didn't get it, ended up losing the game in overtime. Again, if they had kicked a couple field goals here and there, probably would have won the game in regulation. You don't always know what's going to happen after, let's say that, they kick the field goal. You don't know what's going to happen on the next play. I mean, maybe the Chiefs return the kickoff for a touchdown or something else. You just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, every game can go in different ways from different things. So, but look, we've talked about this in regards to baseball. I'm not against analytics. Okay. I'm not against looking at the past and, look at Robert smirking and nodding his head. I'm not against looking at statistics and numbers and data and information to make as a way of making decisions. Okay. No problem with that at all. But where I do have a problem is where you're so wedded to it, where sometimes you need to use the gut, the human X factor, and say, something, I'm going to kick the field goal here. I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to take the easy 3 points. I might need them later. It's risk reward, I guess, right? And in regard to going for two, and Justin and I have been debating this, always go for the tie. I'd rather take my chances in overtime because you don't know what's going to happen. Let's say Aaron Rodgers, let's say the Packers win the toss, get the ball in overtime, and Aaron Rodgers drops back. He gets sacked. The ball comes out. Baltimore recovers it and runs it back for a touchdown. Or they run it deep in Green Bay territory and they're able to kick a field goal and they win the game that way. Improbable? Possibly. Okay. I remember one time the Dolphins won an overtime game on a safety. They were playing the Bengals and Cameron Wake sacked Andy Dalton for a safety. Okay. You never know what's going to happen in overtime. I would rather take my chances in overtime where you have a series of plays most likely than say, okay, I'm going for two. I'm going for the win. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of that. I think that's overtime is the way to go. I understand. Oh, well, the Ravens defense was not that good. Well, neither was the Packers, by the way, because they let up a big lead. So I understand why. I don't agree with it. Okay. So take into that what you will. Robert, if you want to call me the old man on the lawn, whatever, go for it. It doesn't bother me because I know I'm right. Okay? I know it. So there you go.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. All right. Oh boy. Where to begin with that take? Look, I treat the Ravens Chargers situations differently because I do think that, the Chargers in that game, some of the fourth down decisions when they have multiple yards to go. You probably kick the field goal there, take the points against the Chiefs. The Chiefs offense, that was really the first game where we saw, other than, the beatdown against the Raiders. This is really the first time we've seen, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce really thrive and stack up the yards and big plays against an opposing team. And so, that game was close. Even with those questionable decisions by Brandon Staley, the Chargers should have won that game, really, because it came down to some bad plays at the end, including, Travis Kelce basically not being touched on the way to that winning touchdown. So, the John Harbaugh thing is different for me. And, the situation there, I think I like playing for the win. This idea of playing for overtime, playing for a coin flip is the dumbest thing in the NFL. And I know that you and, I can see why the Dolphins don't win anymore because you're playing for ties. I mean, come on. I mean, what are we doing?
You know that.
Playing for ties. Okay, yeah, play for ties. Play for coin flips. Good for you. I like the guts in going for the win. I do not like the play calls that they've called in those situations. I think that that's the bigger problem. Put your team in a position so that they can execute, high percentage plays. You have mobile quarterback. Why are you rolling them out to the right and trying to throw these low percentage passes into, tight coverage? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Let's get innovative here. And I think that they can turn the tide on this. I agree 100%. You go for two in those situations because, nothing, I know that you say, nothing is guaranteed in overtime, Chris, but as the Ravens, do you really want to lose the toss and give the ball to the reigning NFL MVP?
Again, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. He could throw an interception. He could be strip sack. You don't know. You could actually hold him to a 3-and-out. Again, you don't know what's going to happen. That's why you go to overtime.
Yeah, we heard this the first time. I think, yes, you don't know what's going to happen. The Ravens could get lucky. But time and time again, we've seen what Aaron Rodgers can do against opposing defenses, especially in clutch situations. I mean, he made the 49ers defense look silly in a matter of 20 to 30 seconds earlier this season. Imagine what he can do to the Ravens offense with a 10-minute overtime or defense with a 10-minute overtime period. I think, John Harbaugh was smart to go for two there. The issue were the play calls. And I'm not surprised. Greg Roman's calling the plays. Big shocker that they can't come up with a successful 2-point play in those situations. But look, I think it's smart to play for the win. Herm Edwards was right. You play to win the game. You go for two in those situations because, yes, anything could happen in overtime. I get it. Anything can happen in overtime. But why would you take that chance when you have the win in your hand right then and there? Call a good play, execute, win the game.
No, that's the thing. Call a good play. Easier said than done. And that's why, to me, you go overtime, because that way, if you don't call a good play, you're not screwed. All right, Justin, it's your turn. Go ahead, man. Fire away.
Well, thank you, Chris. Yes, I've been waiting for a few days to discuss this. Obviously a hot button topic in the national sports media this week, but I do want to start off by saying your larger point about analytics and the people who use it as gospel, as the Bible. I agree with you. I think that's the wrong way to approach it. Like, we were on this video, last year criticizing Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays in the World Series because his binder told him, I need to pull my starter at this point in the game, even though it's a final game of the season or whatever, because this is what the data tells me to do. And he completely, forgot about, hey, I need to make the best decision that is right for this moment, not the best decision that worked all year. Like, you need to have that flexibility. So with that, I agree with you. I just don't think that whether it be Staley with the Chargers or John Harbaugh with the Ravens going for 2, I don't think this is an analytics question, because the analytics in the Ravens case actually said you go for 2 when it was 8 points differential, not go for 2 when they were down by 1 point. The analytics actually agrees with you, Chris. The analytics say kick it and go to overtime. So there's that. This is a aggressiveness thing. This is creating a mindset for your football team that, we're not going to sit back and let the game come to us. We're going to go out there and we're going to do it. And you know what? Sometimes that's going to fail, but the players appreciate it. The players will battle for you, and they'll try and go out there and get it done. And they'll respect you as a coach for saying, hey, we don't want to leave the game up to our kickers. We want to win it ourselves. So I think there's that just kind of intangible aspect that players appreciate. And that's a main reason why I agree with it. Now, you say you never know what could happen in overtime. You never know. Aaron Rodgers could throw a pick 6. He could get strip sacked, blah, blah, blah. Chris, Aaron Rodgers has thrown over 7,000 pass attempts in his career. He has thrown 3 pick 6s his entire career. That is I looked it up. I did the calculation here. I'm no math whiz, but that is a 0.0004% chance that he will throw a pick 6. That's not going to happen. Okay. You want to play the odds that that's going to happen, by all means. Maybe in 2040, if he's still playing, maybe then he'll throw another pick 6. Until then, I don't like your odds.
I have to admit, I'm very impressed that you looked up the numbers on that one. That is pretty impressive. I tip my cap to you on that one. But again, we don't know what's going to happen.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. Finish my point. John Harbaugh was reading the game. And I say that meaning his offense had the Packers on the field for basically 5 straight minutes. They ran, 20 plays. The Packers defense was tired, and they couldn't stop them. They could not stop the Ravens offense in that situation. If you kick the extra point, you are benefiting the Packers. You are extending the game to the advantage of Green Bay, because in that situation, Green Bay has 42 seconds left in the fourth quarter. They only have 1 timeout. As much as I would bet on Aaron Rodgers to pull that off more so than anybody, it's still, he needs to make two or three awesome throws to go down there and win that game. I just don't think that would happen in this situation. Extending the game, giving the Packers kind of all the time in the world to run their offense how they want, giving them 2 timeouts instead of 1. I think that benefits the Packers to go into overtime. Instead, if you get the 2-point conversion, you're forcing the Packers to drive down the field and rely on a kicker who's been the worst kicker in the NFL this year to drain a game winner. So I don't know. I think John Harbaugh read the situation. He saw the Packers defense was tired. He saw that Aaron Rodgers was on the other sideline. And yeah, I want to put that guy in a situation where he needs to make some throws to win the game or he loses, and they got to kick a field goal or else they lose. And hey, it didn't work out. But this, like I said on Twitter, this doesn't need to be a referendum on analytics every time a team goes for 2, because guess what? The Ravens have won a lot of games with that mentality, and no one's talking about analytics then, So just because it didn't work out this time doesn't mean it's not the right mentality. So, hey, it didn't work out in this case. You could criticize the play call, which obviously didn't work. You can criticize the execution. That didn't work. I don't mind the attempt one bit. And I'll end with this. I don't know if you guys know who Nate Tice is. You definitely know who his dad was, Mike Tice, who coached the Vikings. Nate was a quarterback at Wisconsin. And I'm going to steal something he said on a podcast this week, which is football is not a coin flip game. Football is a game of poker. And when he said that, he means that you could have the best hand possible and you could play your cards the best of your ability. And sometimes the other guy just has better cards. And in this case, the Packers had better cards than the Ravens. They had a healthier team with a better quarterback. And John Harbaugh tried to bluff or whatever, parallel you want to make between football and poker. And it didn't work out. But he played his cards the right way. And sometimes you still lose. That's just how it works in football. That's how I look at this game in this situation.
Well, I'll end it with this. In regards to the Ravens, and not every team is like this, but the Ravens have Justin Tucker, who's being recognized as possibly maybe the greatest kicker in NFL history. That's a heck of a weapon to have, that if you do need an important field goal in overtime, that this guy's money, and anything from within 60 yards is usually going to be, not say a gimme, but he doesn't miss many from within 60 yards. Okay. The guy's basically Mr. Automatic, and that's a heck of a weapon to have. So that's another reason why I would take my chances in overtime, because you do have a kicker who can make a field goal that most kickers can't maybe. And I know that, the NFL rules have changed over the years, that a field goal on the first possession means that overtime's extended, but it is a very important thing to have a kicker that is money like that. So, all right, let's move on to the picks. Last week, we had middling weeks. Robert and I were 2-2, and Justin, well, it happens. We are within, looking at the records here. I am 29-30. Robert is 24-35, and Justin is 19-40. So,
oh, I'm sorry. I don't think anyone heard that. It cut out.
Yeah. So let's get to the games. Our first game, and I picked the games this week. Indianapolis at Arizona. Robert talked about Arizona with just a horrible loss to the Lions. Indianapolis coming off a great win on Saturday night against the Patriots. The kind of win that you can look back and say season defining one if the Colts go on to do something great. And one of the things about picking these games I think is kind of tough, and we've talked about this, is recency bias. We look at the last games that these teams have played, and you use that as the determining factor maybe sometimes, and who you pick and everything. Now the Cardinals coming off a horrible loss at Detroit, Indy coming off a great win at home against the Patriots. And now they go on the road at Arizona. Arizona is a 1-point favorite. I think Indy running the ball is so important. Jonathan Taylor, arguably in the MVP conversation. I think Indy's onto something here. I think they're getting on a roll. I like him to go into Arizona and cover that -1. Go ahead, Justin. Who do you like in this game?
It's really amazing that the Colts can have Carson Wentz throw the ball whopping 12 times and beat the top-seeded New England Patriots and Bill Belichick. It's truly, it's like they flipped the script and did to New England what New England did to Buffalo. You got to respect it. I mean, I don't know how long that's going to last when you get into the playoffs and you're not facing, I don't want to say, the Patriots have a good run defense, but they're not an explosive team. You can kind of play that bully ball against them and have some success. I don't know if that strategy is going to work when you're playing these high flying offenses who can score on a play or two. But hey, you got to like what the Colts are doing. I find myself wondering how good this team would be if Phillip Rivers had decided to come around for another year. He was really doing nice things for them at the end of last season, and I think he would be a better option than Carson Wentz at this point, but it's all a moot point, I guess. The Cardinals can't stop the run, and the Colts are really good at running the ball. So just based on that matchup alone, I like the Colts.
Robert?
Yeah, I'm riding with the Colts here as well. The Cardinals, to me, as I mentioned earlier, look like a team that's falling off a bit. They don't seem to have an answer for what defenses are throwing at them, even the Detroit Lions defense. So, I just like the Colts. I like, they're riding high right now. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is getting enough love in the MVP conversation. These odds come out, and Ritz's boy, Aaron Rodgers, I think is the new favorite to now repeat as NFL MVP, which, by the way, would be totally deserving. I think that there's a great argument to make for that at this point. Certainly a better one than Tom Brady, who looked like his old Patriots self there against the Saints on Sunday. But Jonathan Taylor is a machine. This guy's been running the ball well. He can be an effective receiver as well. Without him, the Colts are nothing. Without him, you're putting it on Carson Wentz's shoulders. And while he has been good this year, I think a lot of that is due to Jonathan Taylor's success. So I'm riding with the Colts. I think that they can go into Arizona and rough up the Cardinals, really. I think they play the brand of football that doesn't match up well for the Cardinals anyway. So, yeah, make it a clean sweep for us on that one.
All right, our next game, the Baltimore Ravens, who we've obviously talked quite a bit about, going to Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 2.5-point favorites. Robert, go ahead. Who do you like? I'll let you go first.
Oh, interesting tactic here from a nervous.
No, that's not it.
Lead. Interesting. Okay, I respect the game. This is a tough one because we're not getting really any answers on whether Lamar Jackson's going to play. Although Tyler Huntley's performance against the Packers is certainly encouraging. That going forward, this team has the ability to compete still, even if Jackson's out. I can't imagine Jackson's going to miss too much time with that ankle injury, given the Ravens' playoff position at the moment. This is a tough one because the Bengals, while they've looked good at times this year, I think that there have been plenty of games where they just missed the mark, and I think that this could be one of them. I think the Ravens, even without Lamar Jackson, can put together a solid performance to really shake things up. Really shake things up in the AFC North. So I'm riding with the Ravens against the Bengals.
Justin, go ahead.
Well, I think this is just one of those years for the Ravens where it's just not their year. They're the season from hell team. Almost every notable player on their team has been hurt at some point. Lamar Jackson coming off an ankle injury. Even if he plays, can a quarterback like that play near his capabilities when you have a lower body injury? I'm not so sure. And let's not forget, last time these two teams played, the Bengals absolutely dog walked the Ravens. I don't think it'll be such a blowout this time around, even if Tyler Huntley has to play. Obviously, he did a lot of nice things last week, but the Bengals, while they haven't really looked super impressive over the last couple weeks, I just like their trajectory a little bit more than the Ravens, who are just kind of just trying to finish out the string here and do what they can with a really, really banged up team. At some point, it ain't your year. So I'll go with the Bengals.
This is the 5th straight week we've been picking a Bengals game, by the way. I looked it up. So
didn't see that coming.
Yeah. It's a good game. I mean, it's a divisional game. It's a great game.
Yeah.
And Justin, like you alluded to, the Bengals beat the Ravens 41-17 in Baltimore earlier this season. I think certain teams have other teams' numbers, at least this year. Bengals, I like them to cover the -2.5. I think that last week's win on the road at Denver against a tough Broncos defense was huge. Obviously, they had lost to the Niners the week before that in overtime, but they did rally to get in that one. So to get back in that one, that was a great win. Sorry, not a great win. Great comeback to force overtime. I think the Bengals win, and they win easily in this one. The next game, Roberts. What?
Shocker.
Roberts Buffalo Bills without Cole Beasley playing at the New England Patriots. Patriots are 2.5-point favorites. Justin, who do you like?
Yeah, I like Roberts' Buffalo Bills here. I think that while their loss to Tampa Bay was certainly disappointing, the way they played in the first half of that game was downright awful. And we all know what happened 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago now against New England on Monday night. Just a pathetic performance by the Bills, really in all phases. A pathetic performance in the media room after the game. The way they, complained about questions, and McDermott refused to give Bill Belichick the appropriate credit for that dominant, statement win, I'll say. But hey, it comes down to this for me. I don't expect that there will be such windy conditions this time around that'll play into New England's favor. I think that the Bills will be able to play more of the style of game that they want to, be able to throw it around a little more. And yeah, that's really it for me. I think that we're going to look back, depending on how far the Bills go this year, we're going to look back on that second half against Tampa Bay. And while they didn't win it, we'll look back and say, something clicked there, and they were able to kind of find themselves a little bit. I think the Bills get it done here.
Well, for me, I'll tell you, I was looking at this game very closely, but I'm going with the Bills, and not because a victory for them would help the Dolphins out. By the way, Robert, I know you might be thinking that, but like you said, Justin, the weather conditions are going to be different. The Bills will be able to play more of the style of offense that they like to, with Josh Allen throwing the ball, even without Cole Beasley. I think they got enough weapons. Patriots, that was a tough loss on Saturday night, and yes, they do get an extra day's rest. And it is a division game. We'll throw the sheerisms out there. But that being said, the Bills know that they're in a must-win situation, and they have to pull this one out. And it's not going to be pretty. I think it's going to be low scoring. But I like the Bills to win and obviously cover that 2.5 that the Patriots are getting. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, I think it was one of Belichick's water carriers in that Patriots press room that made it seem as if that Patriots win over the Bills was more about Belichick not having respect for Josh Allen, that they can run the ball all over the Bills. What a bunch of crock that was. I think when you look at that game, Belichick, Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times. I mean, if we want to talk about who Belichick respects or doesn't respect, let's talk about his own quarterback, who didn't play well in that game because he was hardly used. And by the way, didn't play that well against the Colts either. So, I think that this will be a much different situation. The Bills know what the Patriots game plan is. And that is that, they're not going to put Mac Jones in any difficult positions. They want to run the ball. If the Bills can jump on the Patriots early, good luck, because the Patriots don't have the firepower or the quarterback to come back in that game. I, of course, am taking the Bills. I've renewed faith in my team. Maybe it's because Cole Beasley won't be playing this week. Too bad that Colvid caught the COVID. It's so sad. Who could have seen this coming? I hope he recovers. I hope he isn't on this team in 2022. The Bills will be fine without him. They'll take care of business on Sunday.
All right.
Robert, you don't want to recite his iPhone note?
What's that?
You don't want to recite his iPhone note that he posts on social media? You don't want to? Don't want to get into that?
No.
The last game, my Miami Dolphins. I don't think we've picked a Dolphins game all year, maybe once. It's been a while.
Rightfully so.
And you're right. They were 1-7. They were 1-7, and now they're 7-7. And yes, they got fat off an easy schedule. I will be the first to admit that. Outside of the Ravens, and it's not like the Ravens are any world beaters right now, they got fat twice against the Jets, the Giants, the Panthers, the Texans. I mean, look, it's been an easy schedule for the Dolphins, and now they have to go face a decent team in New Orleans. But before I make my pick, I'll defer to you gentlemen. That includes you, Robert. And I'll let you make your picks first. Justin, go ahead. Dolphins and Saints. Who do you like? Saints -3, by the way.
Chris, I have a question for you. Where were you on October 25th, 2009, when the Miami Dolphins went ahead of the New Orleans Saints 24-3 in the second quarter and then lost 46-34? I just want to know, where were you that day on this epic collapse epic proportions. Where were you when the Dolphins really set the tone for the terrible franchise that they were going to be for the next 12 years? Where were you on that?
Those were the Tony Sperano Dolphins. Was that a Monday night game or was it a Sunday game? If it was a Sunday game, I was watching it at home. If it was a Monday night game, I was probably working at the time. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. I mean, the Dolphins really were the Sperano years. I mean, they won a division title their first year in 2008, and then the wheels fell off. In 2011, he was fired. So are you kind of alluding that we're looking for something similar here maybe, or what's your point with this?
I mean, we got two bum quarterbacks in this game. At least in that game, the Saints had Drew Brees. He could throw it around the yard a little bit. It's just, I've watched 2009 America's Game, that NFL Network special that they do on every year for the Super Bowl champ. And I remember watching the Saints one, and that was like the turning point of their season was the choke job that Miami did. It's funny because this is kind of the Drew Brees Bowl, the team that actually got him versus the team that could have got him but failed. Sorry for the bad memories, Chris. But yeah, I'm going with the Saints here. I think their defense is really good, and I don't think Tua is very good. So pretty simple formula for me. I'll take New Orleans.
Robert?
So, when I see this game on the pick four, whenever Shira sends in the games, I always say, what games should be on the list?
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Which games should be on the list?
And so, I look at 49ers, Tennessee. I look at Browns, Packers. Excuse the dogs. I've got the Rams, Vikings. I've got the Steelers, Chiefs. I mean, these were all better games than in the Hunt Bowl that we're picking this week. But to be a team player, I'll offer my pick. The Dolphins are a paper tiger, kind of a trend in the AFC East, I think. As you admitted, Chris, this is a team that roughed up a soft schedule. Good for them. Glad they had their little preseason fun. It's time for real football, and they're going up against.
Are you at Justin's house, Robert?
Yeah, these dogs are wild. They're hog wild.
Hey, Robert, how you doing over there? Hey.
The Saints. I think the difference in this game is the Saints defense. We saw that. Hey, Sean. We had this we saw this on Sunday with the Saints defense. I think they're really the X factor in this. The Dolphins are going up against, an NFL defense this time. Okay. It's going to be tough for them to compete in this one. Look, Taysom Hill, I don't have a lot of faith in him. He's no Drew Brees, that's for sure. But I think they can do enough on offense that they can outlast the lowly Miami Dolphins.
So you're picking New Orleans to cover the -3.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay. So this is my team, and we all know that, and they are 3-point dogs on the road. Okay. So here's the thing. Miami's defense has played amazing over this 6-game winning streak. They got off to a bad start against the Jets, played a horrible first half, a really bad first quarter. I mean, it looked like the Jets were going to pull off this upset here, okay? So I like the fact that I think the Dolphins defense can definitely keep the Saints honest on offense. Kamara is going to be the key. I'm not afraid of Taysom Hill. He stinks. But Kamara, to me, is going to be the key. If Kamara gets the running game going, it's going to be a long day for the Dolphins, okay? Because like you said, and like Justin said, the Dolphins offense, to me, does not have the firepower to go in and put up enough points to bail out their defense if their defense plays a bad game. Now, last week they put up 30 on the Jets, and that's great and everything, and it was a great performance because they were able to run the football finally. Duke Johnson, who is a journeyman, had over 100 yards rushing, okay? And the Dolphins with a running game is very important to help Tua out in his development, no doubt about that. But I think the Saints shut down the Dolphins running game. They forced Tua to throw. And Jalen Waddle should be back. It's not official yet, but Jalen Waddle should be back. Devontae Parker finally healthy, which is a big thing. And Mike Gesicki, the tight end, who ultimately I think is the Dolphins' best pass receiver overall out of all of them. the Dolphins have a healthy offense finally and have the potential to put up some points. But for some reason, this offense can't get it going. And the offensive line has had its issues. It's played better the last few weeks, which has been big. But I still think that they're a work in progress. And again, they're not playing one of the bad teams. And I think this is what's going to hurt Miami. So I hate to say it, but yeah, I'm taking the Saints to and cover the -3. It's not going to be pretty, and the Dolphins' playoff hopes are going to be put in very dire jeopardy after they lose to the Saints. Go ahead, Rob. I know you're excited. Go ahead.
You mean to tell me we picked this lousy game, your bum team on this video, and you picked the Saints? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You wait all this time to pick your team, and you go the other way. Man, I tell you, what a waste of time.
Call him like I see him. All right. All right, guys. We ready to wrap this up?
Oh, yes.
Okay. First, I want to wish Robert and Justin a Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays, Chris.
We thank you. We go at it on the video, but it's all in good fun. We're friends. There's no.
I hope your gifts are better than your picks this week.
Oh, hey, considering that I'm leading the pack here, I'm the only one who's within a stone's throw of 500 for the season. But whatever. I'm looking forward to that trophy, Robert. So make it a good one.
Boasting about an under 500 record, boy, you are
by one game. I'm one game under 500. Excuse me. The guy who's 11 games under 500 is taking shots at me who's one game under 500. So, but anyways,
there's only one pick that matters, and it's my pick that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. I'm sorry to say that's the most correct pick I've had of the year.
Weak.
I haven't gotten much right this year, but I feel really good about that one.
I feel like Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas time. It revolves around a Christmas party. Okay, there's holiday music in it. There's Santa Claus hats in it.
It was released in July. It's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with it. They get Christmas stuff all year round nowadays.
Taking place during Christmas does not make it a Christmas movie. There are certain thematic elements that must be included for it to be a Christmas movie. And that's where I present to you Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Jingle All the Way, Christmas themes.
No, I think it's a Christmas miracle that John McClane was able to overcome Hans Gruber and his minions at Nakatomi Plaza there back in 1988. So, and I saw that movie at the theater, by the way. Oh, one little piece of trivia I want to throw out there. It was 35 years ago today, December 22nd, 1986, that I was in the Orange Bowl for the last Dolphins home game in that stadium. It was a Monday night game against the Patriots. And I was fortunate enough. My mom was able to get me tickets, and I flew down, and that was my first time in South Florida. And I was able to go to that game. I still have the ticket stub. I probably got the program someplace. But anytime December 22nd rolls along, I always remember that date. And being a Dolphins fan, being at that last game at the Orange Bowl was really special and everything. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So.
And they've been a dog team ever since. So
they have not been to the Super Bowl since that game. So, but anyways, before we go, let's wish all of our viewers a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, a safe Christmas. Have fun. Hope you get everything you want, and enjoy the football. And we will see you next week.